everybody, and welcome to season 4. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, officially we are in season 4. Why am I so excited? Not just because I absolutely love this platform, and I'm really growing so much and learning so much about God and myself, just through, this podcast. But I think also because this topic resonates with where I come from, so I'll have a bit of a testimony, to be able to share. But I'm absolutely so grateful once again to be here. Thank you for all of you who have subscribed, who like the videos, who watch the videos. Thank you so much. I pray that God may bless you abundantly, So introducing to you guys season 4 officially. And the subtopic, or the topic rather, that we will be focusing on will be overcoming and becoming. Because you must understand that before we become what God has called us to be, before we adopt that nature and learn and fully receive and experience the revelation of who God intended us to be from the beginning of our lives, we must overcome. So before we become, we must overcome, and why this is so exciting for me is because there's a lot that I believe we've all had to overcome in our personal lives. A lot I've personally had to overcome, and being able to have a platform to share, is above and beyond a blessing, to say the least, So getting to our topic of overcoming and becoming, right? The first topic of today will be overcoming insecurity and timidity, which I think is one of the enemy's greatest weapons, because remember, the devil can't stop you. He can't do anything to you, can't touch you, can't harm you, but what he can do, is then implant certain thoughts, insecurities and things like that, that will stop you, because the only person who can truly stop you from fulfilling what God has called you to do is you, So we must understand, that is one of the enemy's strategies, is to, create insecurities, and timidity, so that we don't step into our calls, So this is just an episode where we'll truly break down, these things and, how to overcome them, and combat them, so that we can truly embrace and become who God has called us to be, So one thing that is so interesting is that I used to struggle quite a lot with insecurity, actually, and in fact, this podcast, I took about a year or so, to actually start this, so almost a year, before I actually started this, because I was battling with certain insecurities, wanted things to be a certain type of way, and things like that. And I really had to outgrow these things and learn, and one of the greatest lessons that I learned is that I didn't love myself. And I think that is the greatest indicator, So insecurity is like a symptom, to there being a root issue. So that it's not like the main issue, but it's rather a symptom of there being a root issue, And what the root issue was is that I didn't love myself, and I didn't know how to love myself, I didn't even know that I didn't love myself, because there were so many issues, so many things that I'd hoped for, wished for, I wasn't always the best dressed, I had a bad acne phase, where, these two guys once referred to me as lunch bar, so it was quite bad, and I remember there was a point, where I was in high school and there were a group of people around the table, and they were like all making fun of me, like in front of, everyone that was there. And it was hard for me, and I learned so much, through those experiences, that it's important for us to first start loving ourselves, because truly no one's going to love you the way you do, apart from God, of course. Nobody's going to love you the way you do, nobody's going to teach you to love yourself. And a lot of times I've realized that even friendships, expose, how much we sometimes don't love ourselves, and a lot of things, expose that, but it's important to understand that anywhere you want to go with God, you must learn how to love yourself, because there are certain things that you experience. And remember, when you're starting something from the beginning, you look at a lot of people that are doing this thing, that are already in this thing, and you start looking at yourself. Am I worthy of this? Am I enough? Can I handle this? And the truth of the matter is, they probably also started there. Everybody you see where you want to go, highly definitely started there, where they were like, yo, is this for me? Can I do this? Have you seen the people there? And the issue is that we focus so much on what is around us that we neglect who we are, and sometimes we don't even realize that we've been wounding ourselves all along with our outlook on ourselves, or thinking people are better than us, And the way to overcome that is to first understand that callings are not a competition. So because somebody may do something better than you, somebody may have more followers, may have more viewers than you have, it does not make them better than you. It just makes them better at what they do for who they are called to. But you need to understand that there are people that you have to reach, that are waiting on you to be able to step out in faith and, overcome insecurity. So insecurity is actually it's a hindrance to what you have been called to. So how you defeat insecurity is, number one, learning how to love yourself. Remember that Jesus Christ said that he's called us, or he commands us, and he's given us a commandment that we are to love our neighbors as we love ourselves. So we've focused on the fact that we are to love our neighbors, neglecting the fact that we must first love ourselves, then love our neighbors as we love ourselves. And how do you learn how to love yourself? Is you learn how to be patient with yourself. You learn how to love yourself. You learn how to be comfortable around, yourself. And I think one thing that I struggled with for a long time was being in my own company. Like, I would be around people, even if I didn't have anything to, like anything that would make us relate or anything like that, because I've always been a person who's been able to talk to anyone, and I think oftentimes I would find myself around the wrong crowd, because I just struggled to be alone. I didn't want to be in my own company. I didn't like my own company, and these are things that you have to learn. You have to start spending time with yourself, and start learning how to view, or ask God to reveal you or like his outlook of you to you, So we overcome insecurity by learning to love ourselves, by looking at ourselves, by being cognizant of ourselves, because there's always going to be somebody that's either going to look better, that's either going to do what you love better, or whatever it is, but we often become insecure when we are focusing on things that other people are doing. And just as that person that you're looking at does things, in a great way, in a significant way, number one, they also had a place where they had to start, where they were probably like, yo, God, am I called for this? Am I fit for this? And number two, never compete with people, on things. Somebody does something great, appreciate them, and be able to learn how to do what you're doing. And oftentimes it's good to sometimes live a life where you cut out, certain things, from your life, and you learn about yourself, So I think the greatest thing is when people have, figures that God has placed in your life to influence you, when you look at them, never look at them from a perspective of I must live up to their standard, but look at it as a thing of, okay, this is a directive to say, okay, this is the path that you are to walk on, or something similar to this. Then you do it in the way that God has called you to do it. So that's the most important thing, And also looking at timidity, timidity is very interesting, because sometimes we think we're being humble, but we're actually being timid, and it's something that God has not given us, In fact, in 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7, where it says that God has not given us the spirit of fear. Some versions say timidity. God has not given us the spirit of timidity, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. So you must understand that pride is something that is an element or a posture of the heart, So when you're being prideful, and when you're being timid. And it's important to discern between the two, because oftentimes when you shy away from certain things, because you feel, oh no, this person should probably do it and things like that, that oftentimes is timidity, because you are neglecting something that God has called you to, because you basically disqualifying yourself, or feeling like you disqualifying yourself displays humility. And humility, the truth about humility is actually stepping into your call, but acknowledging that it is not by your strength, not by might, nor by power, but by the Spirit of the Lord. So it's embracing this gift and this call, but acknowledging that the source of the strength and the source of the function of these gifts and this call is not of you, but of the Holy Spirit, But God still requires us to step into our calls, So how do you overcome timidity? Is always by directing everything that you do to God. and acknowledging and knowing and living with that knowledge that I'm only here because of God, And how do you deal with pride, or how do you combat pride? Is by serving. When you serve, you begin to adopt that nature that God has initially intended for us, because remember, we're servants, So before you can serve in your gift, you must first serve somebody else's gift. You must first serve in areas that you are not much of a fan of, because it will teach you to use your gift to serve. Because remember, we serve people. If you're a singer, if you're a doctor, it's an act of service. So the nature of God's calling is for us to walk in service, is for us to serve other people. So it's important that we understand that when you are overcoming insecurity, you must learn about what God thinks about you. You must learn about how God views you, and you must make sure that you shift your focus from comparison, because comparison is one of the greatest, influences to insecurity, So look at what God has given you and the way God has made you in a significant way, and appreciate it, and look at yourself as somebody who is worthy of love, because God made you and God has called you to be loved and to be appreciated, and also understanding that not everybody's going to love you or what you do. There's some people that are going to be, just blown away, by what you do, and there's some people that are not going to like what you do, or that are going to have a different opinion on you, So it's important that we get to a place where we are so whole within ourselves and so affirmed by God that whether they praise what you do or whether they criticize what you do, it doesn't make a difference, because oftentimes if you rely too much on the praises of people, the day they keep quiet, you'll think that there's something wrong with you. So that is it, ladies and gentlemen, for today's episode, just introducing season 4, which is Overcoming and Becoming. I absolutely love and appreciate you guys, and I pray that God may bless each and every single one of you. Thank you so much for watching, and just really being on this journey with me. I'm grateful, and I'm learning so much through this journey. So I will definitely see each and every single one of you in the next episode. Love you guys.